You hear it constantly, right? AI is coming for our jobs. Or maybe worse, coming for humanity itself. But what if we just, took a breath and looked back? For this deep dive, we're going to explore 6 centuries of tech advances. Did we survive job losses then? And then we'll look ahead, the next 3 to 5 years with AI. That's what we're unpacking today, trying to figure out what's really going on. Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise, aiming for the clearest insights. Today, it's the big one. The future of work in the age of artificial intelligence. You've shared some great sources, asking us to look back, way back, 6 centuries of technological progress. The key question, did job creation historically keep pace with job losses? And what does that history tell us about the next, say, 3 to 5 years with AI rolling out so fast?
It's a great question. And it's true. We tend to see new tech through this lens of immediate disruption, often, fear. But taking that longer view, looking at historical patterns, it gives you a much richer perspective, doesn't it? You see these mechanisms of adaptation, transformation. They've always been there. Our mission here is really to pull out those key insights from your material, those lessons from history, to help you navigate what feels like a really complex time.
Okay, let's dive into that history. You asked if job losses were compensated. Your sources took us through 6 distinct waves of tech change.
And the big picture, I think, is that history isn't just about jobs disappearing. It's more about work constantly being redefined. Innovation drives this cycle, reshaping society again and again.
So let's start way back. The printing press, 15th, 16th century. Before Gutenberg, everything was copied by hand. Scribes, monks, tedious work. You'd think, okay, printing press arrives, all those copyists are out of a job, right? Seems like a clear case of tech replacing skilled labor.
Well, yes and no. Yes, manual copyists were definitely displaced. That specific role declined. But the key thing is, the press didn't just automate copying. It triggered a huge societal shift. It created this whole new ecosystem. Cost plummeted, literacy exploded, ideas spread like wildfire. It wasn't just cheaper books, it was like the democratization of knowledge. Human capital grew, cities grew, and that created completely new jobs. Skilled printers, proofreaders, meticulous bookbinders, booksellers, these roles didn't exist before. So no lasting collapse in employment. Instead, you got this big shift, this recomposition, and arguably more specialized roles tied to this new knowledge economy.
Okay, fast forward, 18th century. Early mechanization, especially textiles. Artisans making things by hand, suddenly competing with machines. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Like today's AI concerns.
It really does. And this period shows something crucial about demand elasticity. It's not just about displacing tasks. It's about the total employment picture. In textiles, mechanization meant production just exploded. Volume went way up.
And prices came down.
Exactly. Prices dropped dramatically. So people didn't just buy the same amount of cloth cheaper. They bought way more cloth. The market expanded massively. And for a while, that actually increased total employment in the sector. You need more people for raw materials, distribution, even supervising the machines, just because the scale was so much bigger. Now, eventually, demand might saturate, but initially, that price drop fueled growth. We saw this pattern in steel, early cars too. Automation making things affordable can initially boost jobs.
Right, then the big one. First Industrial Revolution, roughly 1800 to 1870. Steam engines, railways, mechanized factories. Huge shift from farming to industry, people leaving the land for cities. Must have felt like the world was ending for some. Did society just crumble under unemployment?
Surprisingly, no. Agricultural jobs definitely started that long decline, which continued for ages. But overall, employment levels held up long term. Why? Because technology didn't just eliminate, it restructured the whole economy. Completely new industrial sectors popped up: coal mining, iron, steel, manufacturing itself, plus all the commerce and transport needed to support it. So the structure of the workforce changed, profoundly agrarian to industrial, rural to urban. But the aggregate size didn't collapse. It adapted. It grew. It wasn't painless, of course, but it wasn't mass unemployment forever.
And the waves kept rolling, 1870 to 1930, roughly. Electrification, combustion engines, chemistry. This brought another flood of new jobs, right? Power grids, telecoms, cars, the service sector starting to boom. But there's another trend here that's, really interesting, beyond just the job numbers.
Yes, absolutely. Besides all the new jobs, engineers, assembly line workers, operators, something else significant happened over this period and beyond, about 150 years. Average working hours started to fall, quite dramatically, actually. Think about going from like 60-plus hour, 6-day weeks towards the 40-hour, 5-day week standard. This tells us something important. Those huge productivity gains weren't just about making more stuff or creating new jobs. A big chunk was effectively bought as more leisure time for workers. So instead of permanent mass unemployment, tech progress also translated into, well, a better quality of life, more personal time, which in turn fueled new leisure industries too.
Okay, getting closer to home now. Computing, the internet, smartphones. The IT or ICT era, say 1970 to 2010. This one felt different for many people, didn't it? Led to this polarization in the job market, routine jobs fading, massive shift to services.
Yeah, this period is really key for understanding the nuances. Again, no permanent tech unemployment overall at the macro level, but definitely big social and economic shifts. Winners and losers became much clearer. We saw this rising premium on cognitive and social skills, creativity, problem solving, interacting with people. Those jobs grew, but routine tasks, both manual like assembly lines and cognitive like basic data entry or admin work, those got automated or offshored more easily. And the impact wasn't even, right? Certain regions, communities that relied heavily on those routine jobs, they faced real hardship. Skill gaps widened. So aggregate numbers might hold steady, but the distribution of work and wealth became more unequal. Adaptability became absolutely crucial.
So across these centuries, the pattern seems clear. Technology recomposes work more than it destroys it overall. But like you said, it's not magic. How does this compensation actually happen? What are the engines driving it? Let's get into the nuts and bolts.
It's exactly. What are the economic and social forces at play? It's a mix of things working together, often in complex ways. Understanding these is vital for thinking about AI now. ###A. The competitiveness and market expansion effect.
Okay, first up, competitiveness and market expansion. Automation makes companies more productive, lowers costs. Seems like fewer jobs needed, right? But it can mean more. How's that work?
It seems paradoxical, but yeah, lower costs make firms more competitive. They can produce more, sell more, maybe grab market share, even expand globally. And that growth often means hiring more people, even if some initial tasks are automated. You need people in R&D, marketing for new markets, complex logistics, customer service for a bigger base. The company's overall scale increases, demanding more labor in these supporting roles, potentially outweighing the initial automation losses. ###B, the emergence of entirely new professions and sectors.
Right, and then there's the obvious one, maybe. New tech needs new people to manage it, build it, fix it, run it.
Absolutely. Automating tasks creates entirely new needs. Think about it. Robot designers, technicians keeping the machines running, programmers writing the code, cybersecurity experts protecting it all, managers overseeing these automated systems. These jobs just didn't exist before. And beyond those direct roles, you get whole new industries. AI itself, big data, renewables, they create vast new employment landscapes. ###C. Indirect economic ripple effects.
Okay, what about the indirect effects? Automation makes firms richer. Does that money just, sit there?
Rarely.
Yeah.
That extra wealth gets reinvested, maybe more R&D, expansion, or it gets distributed, higher wages, shareholder dividends. And that money gets spent. It increases demand in other sectors, often services, hospitality, education, healthcare, entertainment, things that might be less automated.
So richer companies or workers spend more elsewhere, creating jobs there.
Exactly. Plus, the lower prices from automation boost everyone's purchasing power. We can all buy more stuff, which supports jobs across the whole economy and all sorts of industries. It's like ripples in a pond. ###D. Transformation of existing roles.
It's not just new jobs appearing and old ones vanishing either, is it? Lots of jobs just change, they evolve.
That's a really important point. Jobs get transformed, often moving sort of up the value chain. When machines or AI take over the repetitive, predictable stuff, humans shift to things machines aren't good at, like creativity, complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, dealing with tricky customer situations, innovation, strategy, and crucially, overseeing the tech itself, the ethical side.
So the accountant isn't just crunching numbers, they're advising, strategizing.
Precisely. They're using the tools to do higher level work. It redefines the human role, focusing on our unique skills. ###E, workforce mobility and lifelong learning.
Okay, but for all this to work, people need to move. From declining jobs to growing ones, or adapt their skills. That sounds hard. It doesn't just happen automatically.
It's probably the most critical and often the hardest part. that mobility, that adaptability. It needs real effort and support. You need strong systems for continuous training, retraining programs, helping people get the new skills for expanding sectors, like moving from manufacturing to data analysis, maybe.
And that's where policy comes in.
Absolutely. Transition support, unemployment benefits tied to training, accessible career advice, lifelong learning frameworks. These are key to smoothing the bumps and reducing the human cost, which can be very high otherwise. Hashtag F product versus process innovation.
And your sources make a distinction, right, between different types of innovation. Not all tech changes have the same job impact.
Yes, that's a crucial nuance. Do all innovations compensate equally? The research suggests no. Product innovations creating totally new goods or services like the smartphone or a new drug tend to be better at creating jobs. They open up entirely new markets, new needs. Process innovations, things that just make existing processes more efficient, like a faster robot on an assembly line, might displace jobs initially without directly creating as many new ones in that same process. Process innovation boosts productivity, which is good, but its job creation effects are often more indirect, maybe happening elsewhere in the economy due to the wealth generated. Product innovation is often more direct job creation.
Okay, let's bring it all to today. Right now in the next, say, 3 to 5 years, AI. How is this wave different, and what are people actually predicting for 2025, 2030? This is where the anxiety really bites.
Yeah, and while history is generally positive on aggregate jobs, AI is different in some ways. It's not just automating physical tasks or routine calculations. It's tackling cognitive tasks, judgment, analysis, even creativity to some extent, things we thought were uniquely human. So the potential scope and speed of disruption, it could be greater. It demands even more proactive adaptation. Hashtag A. Current exposure to AI 2010-2025.
Oh, and the sources say a big chunk of jobs are already exposed to AI, like right now. What does exposed actually mean here?
Good question. Exposure doesn't mean elimination. Estimates are around 40% globally, maybe 60% in developed countries, but it depends on the tasks within a job. About half of those exposed tasks, research suggests, are actually complemented by AI, meaning AI helps humans do them better, faster.
So augmentation, not replacement for those tasks.
Exactly. The other half are more substitutable, where automation potential is higher.
And which jobs are most exposed right now?
Currently, it looks like administrative and clerical roles. Lots of routine, data-heavy, rule-based tasks there that AI is getting good at.
Okay, so with that exposure, what are the big forecasts? World Economic Forum, places like that. What do they see for the next few years? Is it mass unemployment?
Surprisingly, the consensus is generally net positive on job numbers, but with huge shifts underneath. The WEF, for example, estimated AI might displace 85 million jobs by 2025.
Wow, okay.
But create 97 million new ones, so a net gain of 12 million.
Where are those new jobs coming from?
Mostly in AI itself, development, data science, machine learning, but also areas needing human touch, like education, healthcare, the care economy, roles involving empathy, complex interaction.
So net positive, but like you said, massive churn. What are companies actually planning? Are they just getting ready to cut staff?
Well, that's interesting. A World Bank survey found while, yes, about 41% of firms think they might reduce staff by 2030 due to AI, a much bigger group, 77%, plan to reskill their current employees to work with AI.
So investing in their people, adapting roles.
Seems like it. Another report found 60% of companies aren't planning cuts, but rather reorganization, redeploying talent. It suggests many see value in adapting their workforce, not just replacing it. Hashtag C, economic impact and productivity gains.
And beyond jobs, the economic impact. AI is supposed to supercharge productivity, right? The numbers thrown around are huge.
Absolutely. But potential productivity gains are enormous. The IMF sees maybe 2 to 4% global improvement in the next decade. Some estimates for the U.S. suggest a 1.5% annual labor productivity boost just from AI in the coming decade. PwC even thinks AI could have product development times, faster innovation, faster growth.
And the overall contribution to the global economy?
The figures are staggering. McKinsey, PwC, they estimate AI could add something like $15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030.
Trillion, with a T.
Trillion, mostly from those productivity boosts and the new demand created. It paints a picture of potentially massive wealth creation, which of course raises questions about who benefits.
But not everyone sees sunshining roses. Your sources show a real split, don't they? From optimism to, well, pretty dire warnings.
Definitely no consensus on the path forward. It highlights the uncertainty and just how high the stakes are. The future isn't set in stone. It depends on our choices.
So on the optimistic side, you have people like Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn.
Yeah, he downplays the catastrophe scenarios,
Huh.
argues AI will mostly transform jobs, not eliminate them. He sees human-machine cooperation. His analogy is Excel for accountants. It didn't kill the profession, it changed it, maybe made it higher level. AI is a tool to augment us, basically.
Then more cautious voices like Mo Gaudat, formerly from Google X, sees bumps ahead.
He predicts maybe 15 years of serious upheaval starting around 2027, acknowledges it won't be smooth. But he does hold out hope for a better future after that, post-2040 maybe. If, and it's a big if, we put the right policies in place now, things like universal basic income, strong regulations. He sees a path, but it requires deliberate action.
And then the stark warnings, Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, he's worried.
Very worried. He talks about a real risk of massive unemployment and strongly pushes for regulation and UBI now to prepare. His concern comes from AI's cognitive power, potentially displacing jobs faster than ever before.
And some go even further.
Roman Yampolsky, an AI safety researcher, even raises the possibility of, 99% job loss by 2030 if AI outpaces us completely without intervention. These are serious people raising serious alarms.
So yeah, quite the range. Collaboration, upheaval, catastrophe. It really underlines the uncertainty.
And it underlines that the outcome isn't tech destiny. It's about our choices, how we develop it, how we govern it, how we adapt.
Okay, wrapping this up, it's complex. But what are the big takeaways? Learning from history, looking at the AI forecasts, what should we be focusing on to navigate this?
I think the key thing is while every tech wave is different, there are consistent lessons about how societies adapt. And those lessons are super relevant right now. Hashtag day, no law of net destruction.
First big one. History just doesn't show technology permanently destroying jobs overall, right? Despite centuries of fear.
That seems to be the clear historical pattern. Displacement, yes. Recomposition, definitely. But net destruction over the long term, no. The economy adapts, new needs emerge, work changes. The overall pie tends to grow. Hashtag B. The reality of transition costs.
But and this is crucial. Those transitions aren't free. People get hurt. Communities suffer. These transition costs are very real.
Extremely real, and we can't ignore them. Social tension, temporary unemployment, widening inequality, regional decline. These are the human consequences. We need to acknowledge and actively manage them. Hashtag C. The critical role of proactive policies.
So what can we actually do, especially in the next 3-5 years? The sources seem pretty aligned on needing proactive policies.
Yes, the focus shifts from just watching to actively shaping. How do we do that? Several key things come up repeatedly. 1, targeted reskilling and training. Focus on skills that complement AI critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, ethics, emotional intelligence. Those human skills are becoming more valuable, maybe 50% more demand according to one study.
Sure.
Requires massive investment in education and lifelong learning.
Makes sense. What else?
2, proactive public policies. Robust social safety nets are vital, comprehensive retraining programs, and thoughtful regulation of AI itself. Safety, ethics, bias, like Hinton and Gaudat argue for. Maybe exploring things like UBI. 3, global inclusion. We need to address the growing gap between AI-leading countries and others, avoid concentrating all the benefits in a few places, spread the opportunities. And 4, societal monitoring. We need to really study the deeper impacts. How does AI affect our sense of identity, community, well-being? It's not just about economics, it's about culture and psychology too.
So the message is, the future's not written. It really hinges on the choices we make now.
Exactly. The potential for growth is there, the potential for job creation is there.
Yeah.
But achieving a positive outcome depends entirely on our collective ability to train people, regulate smartly, and support the transition fairly. It could be constructive, or it could be really disruptive. It's up to us.
Wow, okay. What a journey through 6 centuries and into the AI future. It seems pretty clear the anxiety is real, the transitions are tough, but history leans towards adaptation and creation, not just destruction. But this time, with AI, the path forward really feels like it's being actively written by the choices we make right now about education, policy, and ethics.
Indeed. It's a story of profound transformation, not inevitable doom. Fostering that human-AI collaboration, investing in skills, wise policy, that's what will decide if this leads to broad prosperity or deeper divides. The decisions really are ours to make.
Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration. We hope this deep dive brought some clarity to a really complex subject based on the sources you shared. This has been The Deep Dive, and you've been listening to Le Podcast de Philippe. We are actually closing in on 1,000 subscribers, which is amazing. So if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to help us reach that milestone. Your support really helps us keep unpacking these big topics. As we look at this AI future, maybe the biggest question isn't just about the jobs AI will do, but about what it frees us humans up to do. What new forms of creativity, connection, and purpose will we find? Something to think about. Until next time, keep digging deeper.